Imagine being a father who would trade every dollar, every house, every possession he owned just to hear his little girl say one word again. Now imagine a stranger walking into your life, asking for nothing in return, and doing something so unexpected that it changes everything. This is the story of a single father, a little girl who had stopped speaking, and one act of kindness that proved some things in life are worth more than money. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to Kindness Legacy Tales, hit the like button, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us share more stories about hope, compassion, and the power of kindness. Daniel Carter had spent most of his life believing that problems could be solved if you were strong enough. As a former Navy SEAL, he had learned how to survive impossible situations. He knew how to stay calm under pressure, how to keep moving when his body was exhausted, and how to protect the people who depended on him. But nothing had prepared him for the day his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, stopped speaking. Lily had always been a cheerful child. She loved drawing, feeding birds in the backyard, and asking her father 100 questions before breakfast. Then, one rainy afternoon, everything changed. Daniel received a phone call while he was at work. There had been an accident involving Lily and her mother. Lily survived, but the trauma left her deeply shaken. For weeks, doctors and specialists tried to help her. But Lily wouldn't speak. Not to doctors. Not to teachers. Not even to her father. Daniel took her to specialists across the state. He paid for expensive treatments and private appointments. He bought every therapy program anyone recommended. But every night, Lily sat quietly by her bedroom window, holding the same little stuffed rabbit. Daniel would sit beside her and whisper, "Daddy's here, sweetheart. You don't have to be afraid." Lily never answered. One cold Saturday morning, Daniel took Lily to a small community park. While Lily sat on a bench drawing pictures, Daniel noticed an older woman nearby. She was struggling to carry several bags of groceries toward her car. Without thinking twice, Daniel walked over and helped her. "Thank you," the woman said with a tired smile. "People don't stop to help anymore." Daniel smiled politely. "My daughter and I had the time." The woman looked toward Lily. "She's beautiful." Daniel's smile faded slightly. "She is," he said. "She just hasn't spoken in a long time." The woman looked at Lily again, then said something Daniel never expected. "Maybe she doesn't need someone to make her speak. Maybe she needs someone willing to listen without asking her to." Those words stayed with Daniel. The woman's name was Mrs. Evelyn Brooks. She lived a few blocks from the park and volunteered at a small community art center. Before Daniel left, Evelyn handed Lily a simple purple crayon. "You can draw anything you want," she told the little girl. "And if you ever want someone to look at your drawings, I'll be there." Lily stared at her. Then she quietly took the crayon. The following Saturday, Lily asked to return to the art center. Daniel was stunned. For the first time in months, his daughter had shown interest in something. At the center, Evelyn didn't ask Lily questions. She didn't tell her to speak. She simply sat beside her and drew pictures. Week after week, Lily returned. She drew flowers. Then birds. Then pictures of herself and her father. One afternoon, Lily drew 3 people standing beneath a bright yellow sun. Evelyn pointed at the picture and smiled. "That's beautiful." Lily looked at her. Then, barely above a whisper, she said, "Mama." Daniel froze. His heart seemed to stop. Evelyn didn't react dramatically. She simply smiled and said, "Yes, sweetheart. I see her." Lily began to cry. Daniel knelt beside his daughter and pulled her into his arms. For the first time in months, he heard his little girl's voice. It wasn't a miracle that happened in one moment. It was kindness, patience, and trust, repeated every single week. Daniel later learned that Evelyn herself had lost a daughter many years earlier. She understood what grief could do to a person, and she knew that sometimes healing begins when someone stops demanding answers and simply stays. Daniel was overwhelmed with gratitude. One evening, he found Evelyn outside the art center. "I don't know how I can ever repay you," he said. Evelyn shook her head. "You don't have to." Daniel looked at her seriously. "Tell me what you want. Money, a house, anything. You helped my daughter find her voice again. I'll give you everything." Evelyn smiled gently. "I don't want everything, Daniel. I just want you to do for someone else what I did for Lily." Daniel stood silent. Then he nodded. And he kept his promise. He began volunteering at the community center. He helped repair old playground equipment. He delivered groceries to elderly neighbors. He started a small fund to provide free therapy sessions for children whose families couldn't afford them. Lily continued attending the art center. Months later, she stood in front of a small crowd and held up one of her drawings. Daniel watched from the back of the room, tears filling his eyes. Lily looked at everyone and said, "Sometimes people help you without asking for anything." Then she looked at her father. "And that makes you want to help someone else." The room became silent. Then everyone applauded. Daniel realized something that day. He had spent months believing he needed money, doctors, and strength to save his daughter. But the thing that helped Lily take her first steps back toward the world was something that cost nothing. Kindness. Sometimes kindness is not a grand gesture. Sometimes it is carrying someone's groceries. Sometimes it is sitting beside a frightened child without asking questions. Sometimes it is simply staying when everyone else has walked away. You never know what someone is silently fighting. Your smallest act of compassion could become the moment they remember for the rest of their life. So the next time you see someone struggling, don't assume someone else will help. Be that person. Because kindness may not cost you anything, but to someone who desperately needs it, it can mean everything.